What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff podcast. I'm Francesco, and this episode, I'm stepping in as guest host for a special State of the Steep Stuff conversation. If you've been around trail running media in the last couple of years, you already know today's guest and the Steep Stuff host, James Lauriello, the guy behind Steep Stuff, one of the few platforms in the sport that actually tries to tell stories instead of just reposting podium photos and regurgitating the same tired nonsense. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not here to hype races or recap splits. We're pulling back the curtain on the podcast itself. What worked, what blew up, what was kind of a mess, and where James wants to take the Steep Stuff in 2026. This is basically the annual report, except honest. James, let's get into it. How you doing, man?
What's up, dude? Thank you. First of all, thank you so much. It was an amazing intro, and yeah, I'm just so excited to have you back on, catch up. I think most people know that listen to the show that you're my boy. So it's fun to just catch up and have a conversation, talk about the show, and kind of recap all the things we fucked up in 2024 and 2025 and what we want to do in 2026. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me and letting me do this. I figure, what we'll start with is a state of 2025, right? So let's start with big picture. When you look back at 2025 for Steep Stuff, what actually worked?
Oh man. So I think the big thing was there was a massive pivot for me. I struggled. Well, we'll talk about the bad parts and then we'll talk about the good parts. I think the first part, the bad part was I struggled immensely on the social media side. And that was something I really needed to get figured out. And when I started to get that figured out really late in 2025, I think things started to come together much more. And when I say the social media side, I mean, it's not that difficult to look back and just scroll through the Instagram that I have and some of these god awful reels. It's kind of funny. I remember at times I would get pissed if I invited someone to collaborate and they didn't want to. And I look back at some of the reels and I'm like, oh my God, dude, I can't believe this is so bad. I put this out into the world. And it was these really muffled Zoom videos that were someone's face super up close and very, very just I don't know, just really bad cuts. Because I tried for so long to record it in Zoom, then put it together in a different app and try to do all these things. And I'm relatively technically savvy, not anywhere near your level. So that was a huge Achilles heel of mine that I needed to figure out. I always felt like the interview stuff from me was the easy part. That I really enjoyed. The best part about the podcast was being a good conversationalist, having these conversations, doing the research, and getting in front of the individual to talk not just about the race results, but talk about them, learn more about who they are as people. So that part was always the easy part and the good part. But I had to really build the ship in 2025 when it came to the social media strategy and understanding that okay, we're not going to get any traction or growth off of this unless we do something there. And then the other part that I did really bad in 2025 that we're starting to mitigate in 2026 was YouTube. You and I talked about this for the longest time because your podcast, Chasing Trail with Teddy Tonelli, you always put such an emphasis and just did such good work on the YouTube side to have these beautifully curated videos and just put so much work into the post-production and pre-production of it. Whereas I'm this Neanderthal just throwing stuff together and just throwing it out into the world, but I'm doing 3 episodes a week volume wise and just hoping that it's okay. So one of the big things there was just making sure we took a step back to focus on quality rather than quantity in 2025. So I'd say the big mistake for me was, really fumbling it on the social media side and then starting to figure it out towards the end of 2025.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I mean, at the end of the day, it takes so much time and energy to put into those videos, day in and day out, right? And if you're putting out 3 episodes a week, I mean, at that point, you're quitting your job and you're trying to get in there and that is your job, right? Out of curiosity, what in 2025, what was the moment that you felt it kind of clicking with the social media where you're in the podcast itself where you started getting on a roll? What was that moment? And was it just a realization that, this needs to change, or was there something that inspired you to do that? What was that moment for you?
You know what? I stopped for a second because I can't remember the last one it was. It might have been like Abigail Locke or it might have been Dan Kurtz. One of those interviews toward like the beginning or like midsection of November. So we were late in the year. And I was just so frustrated with the social media piece. And I was like, man, these suck. These are garbage. Like, what am I doing? For those of you that know me, like I'm kind of a psychotic perfectionist. Like it needs to be perfect. If it's not, like it really bothers me and it will sit on me. And you and I have had conversations behind closed doors about this many times where I'm like, dude, if I could just get the social media part figured out, the rest of it is just like, then you have your process basically. So for me, it was really like late November, mid-November, maybe, where I honestly, it was Riverside, the app we're recording this on, where I was like, okay, how do I do more eloquently branded stuff that like changes things around? So the first thing was I started using Riverside, the app that we're recording this on now. And for people that are interested in the podcast, or if you're interested in starting a podcast, I highly recommend Riverside. Like it helped me immensely because you could put your branded stuff in there. You can like have your logo. If you get a nice solid webcam that's in 4K, you can record on that, as you're going to have really good video quality. And then on top of that, it basically takes the legwork out of doing the reels for you. And I think that was the big thing for me, was instead of having to go through the video and splice these sections of video on a Zoom video to use for the thing, it was just so much easier because they just create it for you in Riverside. And when I'm doing 3 to 5 episodes a week, depending on what we're doing, whether it's race previews and then interviews and then all this other stuff, that was kind of where things changed for me. And it just like saved me immense time. And the quality is just so much better. There's actually a lot of the reason why I didn't. So I don't know if listeners even pay attention to this or even really care, but I don't have any sponsor announcements to make right now until probably March. And the reason was I didn't really want to pursue anything or anyone after Ultimate Direction fell off. I wanted to make sure that the product that I was putting out there was of the quality that I really like. I want to be damn proud of the quality of the product that I'm putting out there. And, I want to be covering the sport, but I want to do it in a way that's going to compete with, my peers. So I consider peers like Single Track or, on the higher end Free Trail. And, if we want to aspire to be a larger media startup like that and get to that level, or even get to the higher level that we possibly could be at, the only way you're going to do that is by having really, I think, a solid social media game and really solidly produced stuff that's going to convey a good story for the listener and for the reader. So that was the part where it made a big switch kind of in November. And the other part was the branding. I hated the logo. It was like some bullshit that I made in Canva when I first started. It's like of like me with my arms crossed, being all cool, and with some stupid mountain in the background. And so what I did was I reached out to Ace Brown, who's a friend of mine in the Colorado Springs running community. He's a world-class athlete, like probably one of the best downhillers in the world that no one's ever heard of. He's so talented, but he's also immensely talented at graphic design. And so he was kind enough to do me a kindness and redesign the Steep Stuff logo, which is the modern logo that you guys see and do and know today. And there's even like further iterations of that we've been working on to morph that as we kind of go. But that's the iteration as of today. So that was kind of the branding aspect. And then once I knew that like I had all of that put together, so we had the branding, we had the media aspect, we had the social media game kind of brought to the higher level, the process, if you will, was in place. That's when I was like, okay, we're going to expand this thing. We're not just going to, in 2026, this is not just about, just interviews. We're going to tackle the sport. We're going to cover the sport. We're going to try and grow the fan base of the sport. And that's where things kind of took a turn probably in around early December. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, and I got to say, first of all, the new logo is amazing. So yeah, kudos to Ace for getting that to you. I think it's awesome. But I think that segues perfectly, really. And so, let's zoom out a little bit on the media portion of this thing. What do you think about the current state of trail running media as we sit here today?
Oh man. It's a tough one. This is a tough one. For me, it's like, there's a few people I really admire. I think there's people doing really good work that are like kind of out there and new. Like I keep saying like a lot. I don't normally do that, but the ones that really stand out for me, like, I think that like Finn at Single Track has always done an immensely good job. And he's always been like kind of a kind person to me and kind of been, you know, like a soft mentor. Like when I ask him questions, he's kind enough to answer things for me, and I always think he's done great. I really like Women at Distance as well. I think they've been doing different stuff that I really appreciate. There's a few others that like I think what Jonathan Levitt's done with his pod as well has done a great job. But outside of that, I think it's kind of boring, man. I see a lot, especially in the ultra space. Like, and this is no shade to anybody. Yeah. I just think that it is a very saturated space. It's become like a space where there's not a lot of originality. Everybody's kind of doing the same thing, interviewing the same people. You know, one of the things that always really frustrated me is it really is just a lot of conversations with the same top 50 people in the sport of ultra running. And it's like, well, what I always thought would be really unique and cool, especially on the short trail side, is like, why don't we get conversations with the people that are on the bubble, that like are about to make it, that have this like level of excitement that you just have never seen before. And sure, well, like Grayson Murphy comes on this week, and like we've had conversations with Joe Gray and, you know, soon to be Olympian Cam Smith, like the people that have made it in the sport. Yes, we have conversations with them as well, and they're amazing as well. Yeah. But like your Lucy Coppolas that no one's ever heard of, but gets just off the podium of the rut and is poised for an amazing 2026 season, or your Taylor Tuttles of the world. These are people that are about to break onto the scene, and no one's having conversations with them. And I'm just like, why? That's dumb. We want to hear their story. We want to know what they're, you know, what they're interested in and what they want to do in the sport. So that's where I've always thought like, okay, there's a niche within a niche here. Like, first of all, it's just SubHub covering short trail. So they're our main peer, and I think Danny and MK do an amazing job. Their coverage is different. I think they're more international. They have better connections on the international side with what they've done with in their careers with like Golden Trail and like skyrunning and stuff like that. And I think their edge in what they do is very unique. And I think there's space for everybody. But I think on my end, what makes us unique is it's the conversation. It's not just covering the sport and having those conversations and race previews and things like that, but it's really the conversation within the conversation that are of these athletes that are up and coming. And I just don't see that in the media space. And, you know, now that like I've been really pivoting to do more sport coverage and talking about, especially on the podcast and in the social media space around like I don't know, different races and calendars and prize money and who's the biggest trail races in North America and putting those things out to the world. Once I started doing that, I started realizing like, oh shit, there's a lot of like news stuff, like newsy new things popping up in the sport, which is cool. So, you know, that's another saturated market. But I think the big thing to me is the boringness. And dude, the other thing too is like there's a lot of I think one of the things that maybe has separated me, in whether it's a good way or a bad way, whether I've gotten some bad reviews or angry rants from Helen Mino Faulkner and other people, but like it's because I'm not afraid to have that conversation that might ruffle feathers a little bit more and like have that talk, ask hard questions, but also like not afraid to say that what's on my mind a little bit more. Whereas like I feel like a lot of people there's fear to toe the line and not go too far to too far to one side, not too far to the other, as far as like just kind of staying on the straight and narrow path. And it's like, how outrageous could we possibly make these conversations? It's fucking trail running, right? But at the same time, I do think there's a lot of people that are afraid to, you know, maybe say one thing or another, maybe, I don't know, talking about a performance or talking about an athlete or talking about this, talking about that. And that's always really frustrated me, that people aren't afraid to have more outrageous takes. Like one of the things about Dylan, I think he does a great job at, is dude stays on the straight and narrow. There's not like, you will never catch a hot take out of Dylan Bowman from Free Trail. And that's fine. That's the biggest trail racing conglomerate media wise in the world right now, probably. And so I think that's fine, but I do think as athletes, not just as an athlete in the sport, but also as a media person in the sport, I think it's okay to have a hot take here and now and then. Like if there's something if you stand for, like for instance, like I caught a lot of eyes and got a lot of attention, some good, some bad, for really calling out some of the ultra races for the prize money situation over the last month, like having that conversation and talking about it and being like, well, okay, just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean you can't have a prize money. What the fuck is that? So yeah, that's what I think out of the media space. I think there needs to be more hot takes. It needs to be a little more conversational. It needs to be a little different. Like if someone's got a different edge, like, dude, this is the one thing I said this to you. I said this to every person that listens to to your podcast, and I said you are doing it differently, and I love that because no one had even thought about doing a satire-based podcast and like making fun of the sport in some ways and having those conversations. And I think that's what you always did such a good job with Teddy. And yeah, so I don't know. That's a long-winded way of saying what I think of the sport right now. Is we need to get a little wild, dude.
Yeah, no, I would very much agree with you. And it's one of these days I'm going to get back to doing doing the show. It's been a minute, but in that with the hot takes and things like that, I think you made the thing is like you said, being a saturated market, right? We are almost yearning for some of that more honest, authentic material rather than the same old thing. So you had mentioned storytelling, and I was kind of wondering, what are some of the stories that we're not telling in this space that we should be, in your opinion?
Ooh, this is good. So I think the biggest one is, and I kind of hit on this before with the storytelling aspect, is it's good and bad. I think on the good side, the storytelling that needs to be had more is of these, and where I think we do our best job at the steep stuff is kind of catching these athletes before they become household names, like McKenna Morley, for instance, like coming over from the roads and she's going onto the trails and she's already been so dominant. But that girl is going to be a household name in the next 2 years because she's just one of the many insanely talented D1 athletes or athletes that have come out of the D1 system that have gone into trail running. And like she's on some podcasts, but like not a lot of people know who she is yet. It was so cool to be able to capture that excitement and enthusiasm, and it's the come up, right? Like you see this in a lot of sports. It's always more exciting to have these athletes on before they kind of make it big, because you catch this level of enthusiasm and excitement that is just very unique and just very different, and it's something you just don't get in sport. I think that's really important. And the hunger, dude, it makes me hungry. Like I'm an athlete that's been doing this now for a little while, and I've yet to have had what I think is my best achievement. And I keep working my ass off to get that. And I hope it comes, but it's like having these interviews with these athletes continues to help me and push me and kind of reinvigorate and relight the fire for me. That's the good side stuff. I think the bad side conversations we're not having is we're not talking enough about anti-doping in the sport. I think that's a huge thing. And I think this might not raise some eyebrows, but like, dude, there's a lot more doping in the sport that goes on than I think people know of. And I think we've only scratched the surface in those conversations. And I think that needs to be had and conversated about. And I think that will come out as time goes on. And I think more conversations are being had as athletes getting caught. The other thing is just, how do I say this? As far as like the stories that need to be told, I need to do a better job making this, not to make this more about me, but like, I think I need to be doing a better job at creating stars. The reason I say that is because one of the things Ultra does so fucking well at is they create stars in the space, right? Like everybody knows who Courtney Dauwalter is. Everybody knows who Jim Walmsley is, right? Yeah. But how many people have ever heard of Joe Gray? And, dude, I know Joe doesn't like to be compared at all to Jim, but at the same time, Joe is about 1,000 times more dominant than Jim. And that might be like a hot take, but in his perspective, like area of the sport and the things that he has done, Joseph Gray is arguably one of the greatest athletes of all time to have ever graced our sport. And he's only got like 13,000 followers on Instagram. What I would like to do is do a better, as this podcast grows and continues, we do more things with covering the sport. I think the next frontier for me is going to be more of the star building. I think that's how we continue to build the fan base. Like, yes, Joe Gray is pretty well known in Colorado Springs and around the world for the accolades that he has. Like, I'd say maybe way more people know him in Europe than they do in the United States. But that's just one example. Like Christian Allen now, dude, is our kind of our next big thing. And Anna Gibson is like our next big thing. Like, we don't even know how good she is. And Lauren Gregory. And so we have all these amazing men and women in the sport. And I think the next frontier is going to be, how do we turn these people into global stars? And it's also on their sponsors and brands to do a good job of putting their stuff out there and being able to story tell about them. But it's also on the media as well. I think it would be a great frontier for me and a great and I would argue any person approaching this thing or getting into it, and the Sub Hub as well, as they continue to develop on their end. I think the next frontier is to do more storytelling, build the names of these athletes so the North American fan base can understand and get a name around it. Because if anything, dude, I put this out in Bill World yesterday. The Rut had almost 5,000 people set jump into that race, and they sold out in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Broken Arrow is damn close. Cirque Series is a phenomenon at this point. They have almost 5,000 people. So there's no shortage of athletes in the sport and participants. So it's how do we turn them into fans? And I think that whereas Ultra is a big thing, the participants are fans. And I think in trail running and mountain running and short trail, that's one of the big things we need to do is help turn these people into fans.
It's funny because we've talked about this ad nauseum together, and it's this funny thing where Ultra's done this fantastic job of making, for some reason, has somehow made a 200-mile race seem attainable, and it's you just go out and anybody can do it. Yet we have a 11-mile mountain race where it doesn't get that same sort of buzz, but at the same time, it's just as exciting and in its own right, just as hard, right? I mean, you do the short trail stuff where I'm on the ultra side, but I think you're right. I think it really comes down to how we're telling that story, and I think that that's something that obviously you're looking to do here in 2026, and I think that it is absolutely needed because it's a part of the sport that I think is overlooked, and it's one of those things, right? Even from a cost perspective, right? You're looking at say Cocodona or Mammoth 200 or any of these 100-milers that are costing $500 to $1,500, or a destination trail race. I don't know what she's charging now, $4,000 a race or something like that, right?
Is it really that high?
Or you could spend I don't know. It's high. It's high. So it's or you can go out for a few hours, enjoy the mountains, enjoy the same community that's built around Ultra. And I think it's really, like you said, getting that story, telling that story to the people out there, and really bringing that fan base in and showing them that this is also something that you can do. It's definitely a different sport. We've talked about that, but it's the same people that are going to be signing up, right? So I'm excited to see that. I am. And so going into 2026 with that in mind, when you look at the year to come, what do you actually want Steep Stuff to become? How do you want to see it mature or grow? What is the vision for you in 2026 going forward?
Yeah. I mean, the vision in 2026 is to, all right, so 2024 was just kind of all right, we just started this thing. 2025 was kind of building the boat while it was starting to float. And 2026 is let's row the boat now and let's steer it into the right direction. And the direction that I see it in for me is being the name, I'd say the brand in short trail that is covering the entirety of that sport in North America, building the fan base and being the, I don't want to say free trail because I don't like that comparison, because I think free trail is different. That's a massive media conglomerate in my opinion. They have multiple podcasts under their belt. They have a lot of things that they're doing. But there's a lot of similarities too on the short trail side that I think you'll see from us that we'll be doing. I don't like the idea of competition. I think everybody's got their own kind of space, in my opinion. I think the space is still, while there's a lot of podcasts out there, I think the space on the media side is still small enough that everybody kind of can chunk out their own individual thing. And I think our individual thing is the short trail space. And you're going to see us at a lot of races. We're going to be doing a lot of, it's going to be boots on the ground this year. Whereas in previous years, it's been Zoom interviews and me, balling with a small budget, trying to make this thing work with no sponsors and this, that, and the other. This year, we're going to have sponsors. And it's going to be coverage brought to you by a specific brand that we're going to announce probably March time. And it's going to be race coverage brought to you, especially Broken Arrow. We'll be at Broken Arrow. We'll be at the Rut. We'll be at possibly Speedgo, and then most of the Cirque Series races, and then a few others, maybe the Skyrunner race in the United States, things like that. We're still working a lot of stuff out because it's still very early on, but you could definitely count us in for Broken Arrow and the Rut. Those are already kind of penciled in. And so what I want to do with this thing is make us the name in short trail coverage from the media perspective. Like, we are going to be the name in race coverage on the short tail side. And like I said, that's pre-post interviews, race previews, stuff like that. There is going to be a secondary podcast that's going to drop. I guess I can announce this now because we're in the process of shopping for sponsors for this. And yeah, we're as far as like we've identified the co-host, and there is going to be a potential co-host for this. And it's a household name in the sport that I'm super excited about. And hopefully that will be done and like dotted on the line this week. And yeah, there's going to be a secondary podcast, and that's going to be, I don't want to give away the premise yet because we'll do a whole announcement for it. And that's going to live on the Steep Stuff with the idea of like, once it gets big enough, we're going to spin that off into its own platform and its own world. And then I think the last thing that I want to tackle besides the race previews, if you will, is getting like, I think I've done a really good job of doing race previews. But now I need to like build a formula for it. Like, I want like a better system for co-hosts, a better system of like folks in there that are going to, you know, really provide some expert analysis and like really talk about like what they think is going to happen, talk about the strengths and weaknesses of these athletes. So we're going to do a better job of having like co-hosts that have actually performed and like raced at the highest level against some of these athletes in there. Like last year I did a great job of getting like Bailey Kowalczyk involved. Right. And I think she was awesome at like having her for series. Oh yeah. All. More athletes like that, they're going to come in and give their analysis and have discussions and talk about like the weaknesses and strengths of the athletes and where they can, you know, what they think is going to unfold. And then the last thing is star building. There's going to be a lot of discussion as more news starts to come out around free agency. A lot of athletes have signed with different sponsors this year. There's a lot of movement in the in the space, and we're going to have conversations around that. We're going to have conversations around coverage in general, like talking about the sport, like not just free agency. We're going to be talking about a lot of the moves and the whys behind things. You guys are going to get to know these athletes better, and it's going to be more one-on-one interviews, more video stuff, more conversations there, and building that star power. Like I said, I want everybody to know people like Jane Moss. I want everybody to know people like Cam. Well, Cam Smith's different. Dude, you should see Cam. I'm having Cam on next week, and he sent me his media calendar before the Olympics. Jesus Christ. Like, dude is the most wanted man on the planet right now. So crazy. Anyway, but I want people to know all these athletes and like have an understanding of who they are so we can build their star power. And so, because, dude, you realize with the more star power and the more conversations there and the more people know them, then you're going to start to get. See, that's the thing. Like, there's some good contracts in short trail. Don't get me wrong. Like, people are making money, but like, I must have said something I should have said. Let's just say like really good money, like really like life-changing money. I want those contracts in short trail for these athletes. Like, I want people to be making the bag, and the only way we do that is if it's a more if it's a more attractive sport, more people, more players, more. I think competition's even, in my opinion, this is going to ruffle feathers. Short trail is definitely more competitive than ultra, and you could say otherwise. Oh, sure, a million different ways, but just the level and depth and of these people that come in that you've never heard of before, and they're all killers, and the cream rises to the top. That's where your Anna Gibsons of the world and your Christian Alex of the world come from. So it's a long-winded.
Even from a broadcast. Yeah, no, I would say even from a broadcast perspective, right? I mean, it's short trail is something that you could put on TV and you could market that. You know, you could have a race that's 30 to 45 minutes long, hour long, right? Versus again, look, just like anybody else, I'll tune into the say Cocodona coverage, but it's 6 days long. I mean, okay. But, I feel that the money is there, right? The money's there, and there is absolutely room for that growth. And as you mentioned, the money needs to be there for those contracts to happen, right? So, I mean, and at this point, you've already called your shot. It's now on you. You're going to be the one that has to make this happen. And hey, look, the space is ripe.
Well, long-term wise, like, not that I want this to happen because I have my own like personal gripes about it, but I see what making the Olympics has done for like Cam. And just from afar, like I know Cam, but I don't know him. He's not like, we're not best friends, but like just seeing from afar, like what that has done for his name and him as an athlete, and like kind of put him, and same for Anna, it seems like on the map. There might be a day that comes in the next 2 decades where we are in Olympic sport in one way, shape, or form. And like, it would be really cool to be well positioned at that point in time. Like, I know free trail is going to be like, free trail's not going anywhere, right? But it would be really cool to be, especially, you got to remember too, if it is the short trail side, there is an opportunity there that would be amazing for commentary and for coverage and things like that. And I'm not saying I know everything about the sport, but I know a lot about the sport. I know enough to be able to have good conversations, being like actual commentating and good recall, things like that. So I think there might be an opportunity there, you know, down the line at some point in time to, from a media perspective, whenever that time does come. But yeah, I don't know, you know, at this point in time now, it's just on me to just, you know, have fun with it and enjoy it. I think that's the hardest part, is like not getting stressed out and being able to manage everything. Cause I am just a one-man band trying to do all of this at once, throwing 3 episodes out a week and just trying to build the ship as I go. So, and I think with sponsorship, as that's starting to come in now, that's going to help immensely, but it's still not going to take the pressure off. The other thing too that I really struggled with was I was not ready for some negative feedback, and I've had to like really like re-engineer my brain for that, because you know I kind of thought was like, oh well, we're telling good stories here, we're only hyping people up, we're not tearing anybody down, like this is all good stuff here. But then athletes go and make fucking 20-minute videos on getting a stat wrong or something like that, and I'm like, wow, like you got to be really on the ball. And it's not just that. Like last night I posted something about what was it? It was like the top races by population or by, it was like just a stat thing of like the biggest races in North America on the trail side. And the amount of people that DM'd me, dude, and like I really walked them through how I got the numbers and went through everything. And I was just like very, very surprised by like the amount of pushback I got from it. So I think that's one big thing, is like you need a really thick skin and like not be perturbed in any way by any type of negative feedback. You need to just stay on your narrow path and keep doing with your vision, keep going with that vision.
I've always taken the approach, any publicity is good publicity, James.
Well, I know you're the publicity man, dude.
Yeah. Well, you know, speaking of hot takes that get you in trouble, sometimes you guys gotta post it on there and be like, this is gonna get me in trouble, and just set it aside. It all ends up dying off in about 5 days, but hey, here we are. You had mentioned, and you know, again, you know, staying on the 2026 trajectory right now, but also you kind of mentioned, you know, as far as all the stuff that you got going on, you're still racing, you're still training, you are an athlete in your own right. I mean, how do you balance being an athlete, running the podcast, and then also going to these places? You know, you mentioned, you know, the Rut, Broken Arrow, these Cirque Series events, which, you know, I don't know how many there are now, but how are you doing this?
You know, man. So, all right. So, and I would put it like, it's all in a ranking system for me. So like, there's my day job, and then there's the podcast, and then there's running, which is like, I gotta be honest with you. Like, I enjoy being an athlete more than anything else. Like training and trying to be the best version of myself in whichever level that looks like. And like giving my all to something matters so much to me. And the podcast has just always been an outlet for that, because it's helped me, if anything, like not put all my eggs in the athlete basket. Because let's face it, I'm not that good. Yeah. And I hope I get better, and I'm trying to get better, and I'm putting so much work in at this point in time. But at the same time, like the podcast for me has been an outlet to not just identify as like an athlete, you know, like one of the things I see a lot of athletes struggle with is like, dude, some people I have on the podcast and they're just like head cases, man. It's like they just put so much worth into, no, seriously though, like they put so much of their like mental worth as themselves as an athlete, and it's like an identity. And it's like, sure, that could be a really healthy, that could be a great identity, but like you are a dynamic human made of stardust, dude. Like it's a very crazy existence that we lead. And so being a dynamic person doesn't just mean you're just an athlete. You can be an athlete, you can be a podcast host. I also have a full-time job that, you know, is awesome. It's cool. You know, I mean, I think I've been pretty verbose on the podcast that like at some point in time I'd love to leave it to just be a full-time podcast host, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. And then I'm a husband and a dog dad, and I try to have friendships and maintain those. And how do I do it? I don't know. I just kind of like I'm a very like structured guy. Like I'm a very routine-based person. So when I have time at work that I can like put time towards the podcast, then yeah, I'm going to fill that time with the podcast and be productive. And when I'm not doing that, I'm on the ground stretching and getting ready for my run. And, Michelino, your brother, is my coach, and he's done amazing work with me over the last 5 or 6 months to be able to get me to on the way to the level that I want to be at. And so we're putting hours and hours and hours of work in. And it's really just going down the checklist every day of making sure every day there's really not a second wasted. And then if there's a time that I'm sitting on the couch, it's like because I'm pooped by the end of the day. Like I'm pretty tired because I've put all the work that I possibly can into. And I also have a lot of energy, dude. Like I'm 34, I turn 35 next month, and I thought that energy would go away. I don't think that's the case. Like if you are in the pursuit of things that really get you excited and things that you're obsessed about, and like you wake up every morning thinking about and go to bed every night thinking about, then you're gonna get it. You're gonna have the energy to do it. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like I'm just really in this obsession phase where I haven't quite really nailed it on the running side. Like I have this contract and that's great, but what the fuck have I done with it? Really nothing. And so I see that as like a constant everyday reminder that like you need to be putting the work in and be so that way you can show up at whatever race it might be this summer and whoop ass. And I hope that's the case, or at least just give the best version of yourself, give a better version than you have prior. And then the podcast side, you need to completely every day be working towards something. So like you should see the notes in my phone, dude. I just like, even if I'm on the treadmill on a run, I'm writing notes down. I'm like trying to figure out like, all right, what are we doing in 2026? What are we doing here? What are we doing there? And yeah, like the podcast hasn't hit it like really big yet, and I haven't really hit it like that big in running yet, but like it's the same thing where when you start to see like runners hit their stride and like things just click one random day, it's all the work that you do over the years and years and years that builds up. And it makes me confident that like in something's going to click. And I believe that. It'll probably be the podcast first, maybe not. I don't know. Like I think the running thing will click for me in a better way. Granted, last year I was injured most of the year, so that was kind of the big drawback. But yeah, how do I balance it? That's kind of the way. It's a long-winded way of saying how I balance everything.
Yeah, well, and you said too, it's one thing that I've noticed, and this, shout out to little brother Michelino. He's coaching me again. We'll see how long before I get fired for the fifth time. But
he's literally
he's going to fire me.
Right
yeah, it's just yeah. My gosh, the one thing I will say though, from like an injury prevention and all of that, you're going to see great things for it. So I see the running. I see the running taking off, along with the podcast. But, with the podcast, let's get into that specifically with the steep stuff. So for people who might be newer, or maybe even what we're doing for 2026, how do you describe what the steep stuff actually is?
Yeah. I mean, in 2026, we are basically a media space for telling stories of short trail athletes right now and providing sport coverage. That's the best way I could put it towards newcomers to the space. Like we're telling stories of the athletes making it in the sport. We're telling stories of the athletes that are professionals in the sport. We're also having business conversations with the decision makers in a lot of these companies that are part of the sport. We're also talking to agents. We're talking to a lot of different people and having really good conversations around the space. Then on top of that, we're covering the sport. We're putting out there informative information on what's going on, whose calendar is what, prize money. We're talking about all these different things that really encompass and surround the sport. And then finally, we're star building. Like I said before, we're going to be working on that this year. And commentary. That's another thing I actually did mention too. Like I think Tom put it out there in the world already. Like the Sunapee Scramble this year is going to be, or the U.S. Mountain Running Championship again this year will be at the Sunapee Scramble. I will be there, boots on the ground in person, doing commentary and interviews. Nice. And we're gonna be doing the damn thing and really putting a shine on a lot of these athletes. And I think that's another phase that I didn't really talk about was commentary. So we're going from podcast in 2026 to media conglomerate in 2026. That's the plan.
And you mentioned athletes, and I'm wondering, and maybe this isn't what you're going to be getting into, but I'm curious, just as an athlete in the space of not necessarily just short trail or ultra, but let's just call the trail running space as a whole. The culture that surrounds it. Is that something that you're interested in getting into at all, or are you really going to be just athlete focused?
Culture's a funny thing, man. I get weird with this because I think the culture is there. I think the culture is amazing. I think there's a lot of good people that create the culture. But I also think that like culture has always been this is a hot take. I think culture is more an ultra thing. Whereas I think short
Sure.
trail is very much a different sport. It's competition walks, or sorry, it's more so like competition weeds thing. It's an what is that word I'm looking for? Not a democracy. It kind of throws me off. I'm sorry. It's where the cream rises to the top, and I think that's really
Meritocracy. Is that what we're going for?
it's a meritocracy where that's the culture,
There we
and
go.
and I think that's a lot of the reason why we
Sure.
do have an issue in our sport with where ultra I think does a better job at some aspects with their culture, where you can kind of be mediocre at that sport and like still have a voice in it. Whereas like in short trail, not really. Like it's like if you're not Christian Allen, Joe Gray, Anna Gibson, or Lauren Gregory, and down the line, it is very hard for people to know who you are because those are the people winning the races and those are the people getting the accolades and the people that you know of. Or if you're something else, and I do view myself as something a little bit different in that space. But as far as the culture goes, I don't know, dude. Like, I think it's also on the races to do culture. Like, I think for me, it's more so important to build the fan base. So inform you of what's going on in the sport and understand and know what is. But as far as the culture goes, like, I don't think it needs to be changed or done anything with. Like, for instance, I think the best single culture going in our sport right now comes from the Cirque Series. What Julian Carr has created there, and if you haven't run one of those damn races,
Sure.
I highly suggest you do because it is entirely different from anything in our sport. There's high end competition for the elites. If you're sub elite and trying to make your name, there's an opportunity there. If you're a mid packer, there's an opportunity for a challenge, and if you're a back of the packer, you're still going to get a same challenge. Everyone at that finish line, it doesn't matter who your name is, you are celebrated at the end, and you're raised up, and then there's a big party at the end. There's lots of discussion there, and people building really good friendships. And it's this intersection of the sport that is very unique where you're getting a very large ski community with a trail running community and other communities kind of thrown in there as well, depending on like where you are. Like the Alaska race is very unique because that Alaskan mountain running scene is different, but it brings out these regional scenes, that have like very big ski culture. And I think that makes it a little unique and very different. And so what I'm trying to say is like that's culture creation. Like that's for me to tell that story, and like hype that up and get people to go enjoy that and understand that and see that. But it's not on me to create a culture. For me, I think my journey is a little bit different. And then like for instance, dude, you could say the same thing about the Rut and Broken Arrow, creating amazing things, creating race day experiences, and their cultures are unique and individual. Like I think Broken Arrow really leans into the elite side. Whereas, like, I don't think the Rut really leans into the elite side as much. They have their own individual thing, but they're both super popular races that are 3,000+ people that people are going to. I don't know. I think the culture for short trail I think that's a distant problem. I think let's build the fan base first and then figure out like, all right, is there even a problem here with the culture? Or is the culture just really good because it sorts itself out? Whereas I feel like in ultra, like there's a lot of voices there, dude. There's a lot of conversations around the culture, and it's some good, some bad,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think it's funny you bring it up with the snow sports people coming in to the riding scene. I mean, they're a different breed, man. I talk about fun loving, and I think the Cirque Series marries that so well. Julian has done an excellent job with what he's brought to the running scene with just, as he would put, the amount of stoke that he brings. I love it. And as you mentioned, if you have not done a Cirque Series race, absolutely, you will have an absolute blast. You come in first or you come in last, you're going to have fun, and to that, with Broken Arrow, you mentioned, I think they do a great job with the professional side of things, but at the same time, it's attainable for that everyday regular person to come and enjoy the village and, and being hyped up as you cross the finish line. Again, even if you're last, everybody's going to be there, make a little tunnel with their arms, like you're a little kid at a soccer game running through. It makes you feel great. That is awesome. But you're right. It's the short trail is definitely different in the side that it is a very, 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 very competitive space, because you're always seeing those same names up at the top of the podium, and with ultra, it seems like there's a new guy every race, every year that's coming on and just, getting first place here. And you're like, who the hell is that dude? Where short trail, it's very, very consolidated. So no, I would tend to agree with you on that one.
And the thing is too, dude, and like, this is no shade whatsoever. It was really cool when like Anton was doing it, and they, what was the breaking, what the hell was the name of his, sorry, I was on the treadmill before this and I lost a bunch of brain cells. What,
Unbreakable or something like that? Or is
that was so cool.
Yeah.
But how many documentaries do I need about someone that runs a really long race, and it's basically the same story being told over again? Like, give me something different, right? Whereas, like, I think there's so much opportunity in short trail. Like, dude, who doesn't want to see Dan Kurtz running sub 5-minute miles down some super technical, like gnarly Northeast trail in New Hampshire, right?
Oh yeah.
And Remy LaRue in tail, right? Or like, I just think there's so many opportunities there for just like storytelling. Like, dude, Joe Gray, like if there's any person listening to this that like wants to make a documentary, call Joe Gray up and like, it was such a missed opportunity. And this is some inside baseball I tried to get made. I pitched this to Ultimate Direction because I wanted to do it before Worlds. I was like, yo, let's do a mini doc on Joe Gray. Dude, that guy is 41 years. I think he's 41. I don't want to age him too much. I hope he might listen to this and be mad. But I'm pretty sure he's 41. And like, dude, he's so good at his sport. He's so good at what he does. He's a consummate professional. And like, how cool would it have been to do like a mini doc on Joe getting ready for Worlds, right? Or like getting ready for Broken Arrow. And you could have thrown Tyler in the mix as well. Tyler's also a dad and does a lot. I think he's a scientist. He's a PhD. They're both, Joe and Tyler, both family men. I think there was a lot of opportunity there for storytelling before Worlds to have some of these conversations and like kind of show the story behind these guys and just like how amazing they are. And getting ready to go run against the Ugandans and the Kenyans. Like, these are just dudes, like getting ready to go against these giants, Patrick Kipiniego and Philemon, and a lot of these like insane, like world level athletes. And so I think there was a lot of missed opportunity for storytelling before Worlds. And we're going to get that right in 2027, because that's never going to slip again. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I just think that there's so many. I don't need to hear another story about someone running 100 miles and it was hard. Like that's great, but like it's not doing it for me. I'm sorry. Like how many of those stories have been told? Where I think, like, dude, for short trail too, like, I mean, the strength training, the breath work, the actual training that goes into it, the sleep, the recovery. There's so many things, and I'm not saying ultra runners don't do that, because they absolutely do. Like, there's a lot that goes into the professional side. But I think there's a much narrower margin of error if you don't get something right on the short trail side, whereas you can make a lot of mistakes in the ultra world. It's different.
Absolutely. No, 100% agree. And you had mentioned Ultimate Direction, and they were a sponsor of your podcast this last year, I think maybe the last few years, but didn't renew. And you haven't announced any sponsors for 2026 yet. Is that intentional? Are you being picky? What's going on with that?
It's intentional and me being picky. Okay. So the first things first is that like dude, I gotta say, like, thanks to UD, dude. They took a chance on me when I still am nobody, but like when I was really, really, really had nothing to my name or anything back like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and they sponsored me as an athlete, and I can remember going to that athlete summit. That's where I got to meet Joe Gray and build that relationship. Jeff Colt was there, and John Kelly, and like all of these like huge names in the sport. And so that relationship continued to hold on and blossom, and they were kind enough to sponsor the podcast and give me some support in 2025. Sorry. And they are going to be, I can't tell much about their strategy, but like they're pivoting strategy wise for this year. So it made some sense to amicably end that relationship, as I had some different direction and goals that I wanted to do on the, let's just say, the apparel side and gear side for the podcast, like as far as those sponsors go. So yeah, we amicably separated, but I gotta say, like, dude, thank you so much to them for the support. It was really great, and what we built in the first year, and that support was just great. I have been very strategic in not announcing anything. We do have a main sponsor for 2026. It is not a shoe brand. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but they come online in March, and they're going to be bringing to life a lot of the coverage, right? So you're going to see a lot of coverage of Broken Arrow brought to you by, and so that's going to be that brand. And I was very intentional in not really like going to seek anybody out until now. I know it's like really shitty in the calendar because everyone's budgets are spoken for, but I just truly believe that like if you bring the power and bring the if you really have something special, brands will create they'll create budget for you. And so, yeah, I was intentional in the end of the year to not seek anybody out because I wasn't happy with the podcast. I really, like I said this in the beginning, like I really didn't like the social media aspect of it. I was not happy where that was. I didn't feel like that product was worth someone like a La Sportiva or a Mammut or North Face or someone like that saying, "Hey, we're gonna give you X amount of money to sponsor the podcast," because I didn't feel like the deliverables were there. But now I think the social media game is upped enough, and I think the conversation piece, I think now that we have a YouTube in place that's putting out good stuff, I think now that I guess there's a system, I think I'm a very system oriented guy. Excuse me. And now that the system's in place, that's when I started working with an agent, and started working with an agent. We've got one in place, we're working on another, and then we've got a bunch of other shit in plan for 2026 as well. So we're getting there, dude. I think I guess I can be transparent about this. I told you we have a sub show that's going to be dropping soon. That's going to be like a secondary podcast. Basically, we're working on a sponsor for that right now. Once that's done, we'll be hopefully around the June time frame, and we're going to be looking for a shoe. I think that's okay to say that and put that in the world. We're going to be looking for a main sponsor for the podcast, and I think those conversations and those processes, it's just like becoming a sponsored athlete. They don't start in December; they start very early out. So I kind of put that into the world, and that's what I want to do. And then the next thing I want to work on after that is, dude. This is no shade to Free Trail, but like Trail Runner of the Year is, in my opinion, a lot of popularity contest, and I just don't like the way it's done. So we're going to do something different. I want to do something for Short Trail. I was really stoked that there was a lot of Short Trail athletes that made it on there. But dude, this is such a big sport. Like it's got to be either a North American thing or like you got to change it. Like, and it can't be it can't be everybody, right? Like, I don't even think Remy Bonnet, who became the world uphill champion, was in there. And like, I'm not Remy's biggest fan in the world, but like, he should be in it. There was a lot of people that were missing off that list. And so I feel bad that Dylan has to continue to defend himself because every armchair quarterback in the world comes out and be like, oh, well, Toby Alexanderson should have been on there, or this person, or Remy Bonnet. I want to create something that like cuts that out because you're just creating yourself a headache when you make it a popularity contest where you make the individual people vote. So I'm in the very early process right now of completely coming up with an entirely new system, and we're going to shop that to a sponsor, and there's going to be something new in 2026 for Free Trail, and it's going to be done the right way to where the short trail athletes are going to get their shine. It's probably just going to be North American based. I really shouldn't be running my mouth on this because nothing's out there. And if someone wants to do it before me, by all means, go for it. I'll collab with you or happily sit back and fix what you didn't do right. But like, I think it needs to be done better in my opinion. So we'll do it.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. And with the coverage going out there and doing more of this on the ground type coverage, a big thing that we've seen in the sport is having actual conventions coming for trail running, TRE, TrailCon. Do you plan on being out there? Are you going to go, is it visiting, having a booth? How do you plan on covering those events?
So I was going to go to TrailCon this year. It was the original plan, but I'm going to not. There's one race in particular that I'm very eyeing this year, and I want to do everything I possibly can do in my power to make sure I'm prepared for that race. So I'm going to be training on that course a little bit and doing a different race that weekend of TrailCon. So I'm not going to be at TrailCon. That's a short story. I will be at TRE, and that the goal will be to network and take meetings there and enact the vision for what we have for 2027 with the steep stuff. So definitely will be at TRE. Probably not be at TrailCon unless things change, because I know that the sponsor of the podcast for 2026 will be there. They might want me to be there. That might change things. We'll see.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see, and we just have to look at the races that are on that weekend and find out which one's the big one for you, I guess, huh?
Oh no, the big one is not until the end of August. I'm just doing everything. You know what it is. Don't. Put it out.
Okay.
Don't sand. Okay. I'm sandbagging here.
Okay.
Don't put that.
No.
This is what I need to get back.
Awesome.
Get one back on.
Hey, no, absolutely. You know what? When you spend a year dealing with injury and everything like that, you know, I see absolutely the want as an athlete to get back on the horse and go put out a good performance. I mean, it's so hard when you have a year dealing with injury after injury after injury. And when you're finally healthy, you really just want to be able to put that body to use. Because like you said, you know, we're not getting any younger. So we got to do it now, right?
I'm old, dude. I mean, I'm going to be really old. No, I'm still in my prime. Dude, 35.
Still in your prime.
35,
that's right.
Very much in my prime. I don't. It's funny. I had a Lucy Culpa on the show the other day, and she's like 27, and we were just talking about age. And she's like, "Oh, you're fine. You're just gonna lose a bunch of your VO2 max. No big deal." And I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Oh my god." Like,
oh, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
I don't really need that. You know what's funny, dude? I started doing breath work this year. That was my New Year's resolution to get something I was talking to your brother about was working on like intercostal muscles for like heavy breathing when you're in some of those like higher pace zones. So I've been doing a ton of breath work, and I gotta say, man, if and this is to the audience out there, if you don't do breath work already, highly 10 out of 10 suggest that. Like it has if you get your breath work done correctly and like actually like work on it, you'll never get a side stitch again. I think that I mean, obviously I don't know, that's probably a bold statement, but like it helped me with a lot of different things. So yeah, breath work. And it also supposedly does something for your VO2. I don't know how true that is, but as far as like just getting me calmed and in a very nice place, I think breath work is immense. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. No, I could see it. I mean, even just from a mental standpoint, right? Just being able to just kind of, like you said, I mean, just take that and just kind of just bring it down just a little bit, right?
Well, you know me, I'm a high energy.
You know what's crazy?
Guy.
It's total. This is actually just a little bit of a tangent, but not really. But have you ever noticed if you're like training or listening to music, the difference in your heart rate just from listening to music that hypes you up versus going out? Like maybe this isn't a hot take, but something that I've noticed is that when you're doing like really, really high VO2 max intensive workouts, just real like, or intervals or something like that, listening to classical music, oh my gosh, it's huge. Just keeps you chill and just be able to put all that energy where it belongs. I don't know. Am I the only one? Did I just like find this out and everybody's been doing this? But man, yeah, dude, I'm telling you.
Classical, dude. Classical. I see.
Or just chill music, you know?
Oh no, I put on like 2013 Avicii. Like I'm like in a rave doing. Never mind. I'm in a rave, like dude, being a wild boy. Like I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I mean, that's completely opposite of what I'm saying. Like I'm saying, like you bring down, like because you stick, if you could still like have that intensity. Hey, well, you know what? To each their own. To each their own.
Wait, do you do workouts with music on? I think you have like that music. I've seen you do it.
Yeah. No, it depends. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times I'll do, most of my training, I'd say I'm probably not listening to music. But there are times when I do like to throw in my headphones, like, especially for like a really long run, right? Cause I mean, if you're going out and you're doing 18, 20, even like, a 30-mile training run, I mean, dude, it can get boring, especially if you're doing like a loop of something and you're on like loop number 4. Like it's sometimes or just like a podcast, right? Something to kind of keep your mind off of the fact that you've been running for 6 hours.
See, like this is actually a problem of mine, and I actually need to get this figured out. So for all my easy runs, I don't listen to music, but like I usually do 1 to 2 hard workouts a week, and depending on like what block I'm in, and I gotta like wean myself off of that for like races, because like I can't go into a race not because like you can't wear music or listen to music in a race, right? Especially a short race. But like if I'm doing like, let's say I'm going
Right.
to go do a VO2 workout on the incline, or if I'm going to go hit the track, like usually I will listen to music in those just because I'm by myself. I don't have anybody to pace off of. And I'm kind of just getting in my own head and just, usually I use that time to think, and I'm like, I'll listen to music and just get in a deep thought, and then be present for, obviously intervals and stuff like that. But yeah, it's something I got to wean myself off of is music, especially in the off season when it's boring as fuck and it's like snowy out and this, that, and the other. And the last thing you want to be doing is freezing outside and doing your workout. But yeah, so that's a I don't know.
Well, I mean, it is something to definitely practice at least, right? Because I mean, I do think that there is something to be said for being able to train with or without music, right? Because again, if you're going into the competition, and some races don't even allow you to have headphones. I don't know if there's a ton of those still out there, but like some of them are. They're in their rules. They specifically say no headphones, no head. Okay, yeah. But
I thought about
and then if you're just used to training,
I think it's the jawbone ones, the jawbone conducting ones. I've thought about using. I can, because that way I can like still hear if but also dude, like for like my types of races, like I'm racing people. Like I mean, obviously I'm trying to do the best I can, but like I'm very much in the present. And if I'm like locked in heated battle with someone, I don't want to be listening to music. Like I want to take your soul. I don't want to be, listening to a
absolutely
like taking your soul. I don't know. Some thoughts there.
So wrapping this thing up, I want to give you the last word on this. What do you want to leave everybody with as we're moving into 2026, or I guess we're in 2026 now, but in the early stages of it. What do you want to leave the audience with, and what to look forward to?
Oh, dude, first of all, just a giant thank you. Like if you're listening to this and you're this far, if you're 48 minutes and 51 seconds into this and you're still listening to it, dude, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving this, especially in the world where like there's so much competing for your attention. And, if you enjoy the sport and you're getting something out of it, I'm so excited that like I can help bring you some value. I hope there's something there for everybody. I hope, and I really hope that there's, that listening to these athletes and listening to these stories gets you excited and gets you excited to go do your own challenges and go, chase your own goals in life. And even listening to me on this, like me pursuing whatever this is, whatever that becomes, and whether it becomes something or doesn't, like at least we're pursuing. And I think that if anything, I hope that inspires people that if they have their own personal project, and no matter where you are in life, like if you have your own personal project that you want to do, go fucking do it. Don't wait. Don't sit on it. I sat on like this idea for like 2 years before I did it and bounced it off a bunch of people and then finally just did it. And so if I could leave anybody with anything, it's thank you. And if you're excited about doing something or want to do something, go do it. And yeah, what to look forward to in 2026. Like this thing is not going to this is the worst we're going to be. And I say this for my running and I say this for the podcast. We're only going to improve and we're only going to get better from here. So if you've been along for the ride this far, there's going to be a lot more value coming your way. There's going to be a lot more things, a lot more excitement, be stoked on the horizon for what we have coming. And yeah, this thing is the worst it's going to be. That's all I have to say. And I know that's an intense point to make, but I think that's what I can say is like lots of opportunities in 2026. And one thing I didn't, one last thing I didn't hit on, and I think I needed to, was community, man. One of the big things that I need to do better of, and I didn't really kind of gloss on this and maybe glossed over it, was just being more involved in my community and getting out there and doing things for the community and being a presence in one way, shape, or form. So, my front range community in Colorado Springs, Denver, Boulder, expect to see more of me. We're going to be at more things. Like we will at the summer, I'm going to be at all the La Sportiva group runs and we'll be handing out stickers and saying hello. And, you can ask me questions and, be happy to answer anything and we could spend time together. And that's going to happen in a lot of different places across the front range and at the races that we go to as well. Like, and I also want people's feedback, dude. Like if you don't like something, tell me. If there's something, if you really have some good constructive criticism and you want something to change and do better that I can be better at, let me know. I've got this vision, but like I say this all the time, I'm building this boat as we're sailing it, dude. So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just a dude. So for me, it's I really want to just say like I'm so appreciative for the people that listen to this, and like I said, this is the worst we're going to be, and we're just going to get better, and I look forward to being on the ride with everybody. So Thank you.
Perfect. I think that's an absolutely amazing way to end this. And James, no, I mean, thank you for allowing me to come on here and allow you to be this open about the wins, the messes, all of what made the steep stuff different from any other media out there. And I truly believe that. I'm a big fan. And if you're listening and you care about where trail running media is actually headed, this is the conversation, the types of conversations that matters, and it's something that I think that you're doing an amazing job of. So with that, thank you, everybody. I've been honored to be here as the guest host of the Steep Stuff podcast. I'm Francesco Sinceri. This is the State of the Steep Stuff, and we'll see you out there in 2026. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. This was an amazing conveation, and definitely this is the most tamed I've ever had you on a podcast. I love it.
dude, it's well, hey, look, man, I think there's there were definitely some moments where I was like, but look, at the end of the day, I think that there's a clear vision for what you wanted to get out with this, and I didn't think there was anything necessary to step on any of that, right? Like, I think it's just letting you shine, let your vision come through. That's kind of how I saw the whole thing going. So.
Dude, I appreciate it.
Dude, it was fun, man. I enjoyed it. Yeah. So is the editing portion? Is it going to be that much easier for you with the way Riverside works to be able to get this thing out super quick, or what?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. So, I mean, I haven't stopped us from rolling yet. Maybe this is like inside baseball for the audience to listen to, but yeah, this will come out this afternoon.
Ooh, deep cuts.
All I gotta do is hit stop, and I don't really. There's nothing I said, and certainly not anything you said that I'm like, oh, we need to edit that. I mean, my camera was freaking out a little bit in the beginning, so I might have lost some camera. I don't know. I might have lost some video for the YouTube aspect. I don't know. I've never had that happen before, but yeah, dude. I love Riverside. It's amazing, but every now and then it'll throw a technical error at me that I was not expecting. So
yeah.
Well,
dude, I've been playing hell with my Logitech cameras. I spent literally 30 minutes this morning trying to get it set up, and then I finally put my little Logitech 4K that I use for webcam meetings up. I'm like, this is gonna have to freaking work, and hopefully the quality's not terrible. So we'll see.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, dude, sometimes those technical errors, they.
Yeah, I don't know. Mine was weird. I don't know. There was in the entirety of the first 20 minutes of the meeting, I was getting it was trying to a camera was trying to get in there, and I was like, what? I've never had that happen before, where it was and I thought it was maybe one of your cameras that was requesting to be a part of it, and I didn't accept it because your camera seemed fine, your audio seemed fine. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna end this now because people are like, what the fuck are we saying? I'm gonna hit stop. Thanks, buddy. All right, there we go. All right, that stopped it. Sorry. Yeah.